I'm going to talk a little bit about whether or not human beings have a soul. Um, and you note that this is the universe that I'm showing. And I'm going to tell you one of the things that I came up with as an adult, 50 years old. There was a time when our universe, was the size of a softball, and it was extremely dense, and all the galaxies were in that space. All the atoms were in that softball sized universe, and it either exploded or collided. Where was your soul at this time? Was it floating around in space? Was it inside that little softball? Your soul has to be somewhere. Were all of our souls in there? Why is it that your soul, you need to be, as far as I know, you need to be on a habitable planet, which means it needs a certain amount of time has to pass before you can have a habitable planet. So your soul is sitting around for billions of years just waiting to incarnate. And then what happens when the universe contracts back into a softball? Where does your soul go? And the other thing is, it could be in that form, the size of a softball, for, you know, trillions of years before it re-explodes. So you notice they show like a little softball over here. That's the actual size. So to me, I think I came to the conclusion that we do not have a soul. And I believe that our soul is created through our thought processes and feelings, and it's a function of the brain, um, in the same way as color is a function of light, or um, you need DNA replication in order to have a tree. So I think that our soul is something that goes away when we die. That's something that I now believe. I do not believe that our souls can leave our body. I believe that you can trick somebody into believing that, because when I was in my early 20s, I believed that it was possible based on things that I was reading. I no longer believe that. And if for those of you who know about having your soul sucked out of your body, I had that experience once. And you can read about it on the internet. I don't think it was real. I think it's fake. I think somebody wants us to believe it, is what I'm saying. So I don't think that the soul exists. However, I do believe that the soul exists as long as the body exists. It was created by the body in the brain, a function of the brain, and then when the brain stops functioning, the soul will no longer exist. When you think about it, you are comprised of your memories, your experiences. There's people who have serious brain damage and cannot remember their life. And there's people who have serious brain damage and it changes their behavior. Like they might speak a different language. For example, my grandmother grew up in Italy. So if she has brain damage, she might stop speaking English. In fact, it happens when people die, they start to speak in their native language when because of the brain damage. So I'm also a computer programmer, and I have complete understanding of loaders and accumulators. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's basically the essence of, like, if you're looking for a soul, that's where you look. There's literally something in a computer that has two or three number values, an operand, a value that is stored, a state, etc., which is the basis of all computer thought. And it's like 1 + 1 = 2. It's written differently in the computer format. It would be, um, I don't know how to write it, but it's done a little bit like 1 = 2 plus. It's more simplified. You have one number that is what you changing, the the operand, the method you're using to change it, and what the current state is. So computers, as far as we know, don't have souls. But if they receive input and they have output, you could convince someone into thinking that a computer has a soul. You'd have to have the input and the output similar to what a human has. In fact, you could probably create a more advanced soul than what a human has. And I think that when that happens, people are going who created it are going to start to understand what it means to have a soul. Maybe they'll find the part in the brain which has the loader and the accumulator, and then that will answer the question. Or maybe the brain doesn't work the same way as a computer chip does. Maybe there's something else, which would have to mean either it's happening in parallel or there's using some other method. But I find it hard to believe because emotions is a state and logic is a decision, and that part of the computer chip has both of those. It has the state of being, and it has the operand, which is the decision. And then there's the third factor. There's a third, which is how much you're modifying it by. And we don't use a word like we have emotion and logic, but we don't use the word. We don't have a word to describe how much we're changing by. Well, I guess you could argue that is the input. Maybe that's as simple as it is. Okay, so that's why I don't believe that people have a soul. I definitely don't believe that animals. No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I had a dog. It was a wonderful experience. But the other issue, of course, you know this one. We can't feel how other people feel. I've had experiences where I thought I felt other people's feelings, but I now know as an adult know that it's fake because um, you can create a device that puts energy onto your spinal column and make you feel a feeling and make you have a thought that makes you believe that something else is happening, like a phantom limb. So that's how you know that it's fake. I believe that uh, those things are misleading. Even though I had those experiences, I no longer believe in them. Okay, no soul. Goodbye. Of course, people have a soul.